The temperature has gotten a lot cooler and it's got me in the mood for making some potato soup. So that's what I'm going to be cooking tonight. Hey guys, I'm Clint and I like to cook. Y'all come along with me and we're going to get started on this. So the first thing I've done is I've taken 3 pounds of russet potatoes and I've already cubed them up, and we're going to put them in the water. And I want to pre-boil these until they get just a little bit tender. And I like using a russet potato because they're starchy and I like to have it creamy. So a starchy potato will break down a little bit. Now if you like something that's chunkier, you can go with like a Yukon Gold or a red potato. They'll actually hold their form a little better in the soup. That's just a tip for you. So we're going to let that boil for just a little bit until those get tender, and we'll go ahead and drain them out of that water. So I boiled the potatoes for about 10 to 15 minutes till they started to soften up, and I've gone ahead and dumped those out and poured the water out. So now we're going to start making our soup in the pan here. All right, so in my pan, the first thing I like to do is I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of melted butter. Get that in there. And 1/4 cup of flour. I just want to stir that around and kind of get that blended in there. Try to get all the lumps out if you can. I've got my flour mixed in to my butter pretty well. So now I want to start slowly adding 8 cups of half and half. So I'm going to do about 2 cups at a time. I'm going to take a whisk and just kind of work that around a little bit. And just kind of slowly let that heat up. We're just trying to keep it from clumping up is what we're doing. I'll go ahead and add the rest of that one. And we're just going to keep stirring that so that doesn't get hot and scorch on the bottom. And we'll let this warm up before we add any more half and half. So we're going to give that just a few minutes. We'll go ahead and add the other part of the half and half. And get that mixed in there well. We want to try to let that start warming up to about a slow boil. As our half and half is heating up, we want to go ahead and add our spices. So I like to add a little bit of black pepper, some salt, and a little garlic powder. And we'll stir it in. Now you might want to play around with the spices a little bit. You may want a little more pepper or salt or garlic, so it's totally up to you, but that's the spices that I usually use. So I've almost got that up to a simmer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 pound of Velveeta cheese. And I've just taken that block and I've cut it up into smaller chunks. And that will help it melt quicker if you'll cut it up into small chunks. So we're going to just slowly keep heating that up until that cheese gets melted good. And then we'll add the potatoes and the rest of our ingredients. Alright, so our cheese is pretty much melted, so I want to go ahead and I want to put my potatoes in there. So I'm just going to slowly add those. That way they don't just splash all over everything. There we go. And we'll start stirring that around. Now, this next step is optional. It's totally up to you guys. But I add a little bit of a Frank's Red Hot. Not a whole lot. Just a little bit. And I go ahead and I add me some green onions. Just a couple little spoonfuls there. I like the flavor that the green onions give that soup. And we're going to slowly stir this, bring it back up to a simmer. And I like to simmer it for about 15 minutes or so because the potatoes are pretty well done. And then this will start thickening up. Now you can go ahead and add bacon bits right now if you want to. I usually just wait and I'll add that as a topping. But some people like to go ahead and cook the bacon in the soup. Feel free to do that. It's good either way if you ask me. So we're going to go ahead and let this simmer now for probably about 15 minutes or so. Alright guys, everything's done. Smells delicious. I love potato soup. It's hard to beat. There we go. A little cheese, a few more green onions to top that. And we can't leave out the bacon bits. There we go, guys. Pretty simple meal. Hope you guys give this little recipe a try. It's super delicious, easy to make, and it's wonderful to have when it starts getting cool outside. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your support. God bless.